I was a senior in college in 2008 when Ron Paul was running for president for his second time, technically. The first time was with the Libertarian Party in 88, but then he went after the Republican nomination in 2008 and 2012. And I was already committed to the principles of liberty. But for a lot of people, Ron was their introduction to the principles of capitalism, to individual rights, to freedom. And he, in the words of so many people who were even talking about it at his 90th birthday, cured their apathy. Now, hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Liberty Ventures podcast. My name is Alexander McCobin, founder and CEO of the Liberty Ventures Network, where we're building the ecosystem of values-aligned investors, executives, and entrepreneurs who are committed to the principles of capitalism, to being the best representatives of and advocates for this incredible system. Now, normally these podcasts have been interviews with members of the network to share their insights, their stories, their lessons with all of you, and I'm going to continue that. But I'm using this new format, talking with you and bringing on guest hosts and guests on a sporadic basis in order to release these more frequently, to give more up-to-date information about what's happening in the network, and to give you insights in order to take advantage of these incredible leaders and opportunities that are committed to the same principles as all of you listening. So if you like this new format, if you have feedback, let me know. We want to keep building this out and keep sharing more updates and get a whole lot better at this with all of you. And that'll help me out. But to dive right into it today, I want to recap an amazing event from this weekend, Ron Paul's 90th birthday barbecue. Now, look, I was a senior in college in 2008 when Ron Paul was running for president for his second time, technically. The first time was with the Libertarian Party in 88, but then he went after the Republican nomination in 2008 and 2012. And I was already committed to the principles of liberty. But for a lot of people, Ron was their introduction to the principles of capitalism, to individual rights, to freedom. And he, in the words of so many people who were even talking about it at his 90th birthday, cured their apathy. Now, I also have to give credit to Jeff Frazee and Young Americans for Liberty for putting on an amazing event and building up a great organization out of the Students for Ron Paul movement back in 2008. He built an incredible organization, and Yale's doing some amazing stuff. Everyone should go and check it out if you're not familiar with them. But while he was getting Students for Ron Paul and Young Americans for Liberty off the ground, I was starting to build up Students for Liberty almost in parallel to what Jeff and Yal was doing in the political side. I fell much more on the realm of ideas, the philosophy of liberty. But we were always friendly organizations. Jeff and I have been good friends. Jeff was actually the person that I talked with most and who helped formulate the ideas behind launching the Liberty Ventures Network and is on the board of Principled Business, our nonprofit. So really, thank you to Jeff for all the incredible work that you do in advancing liberty and in getting this network off the ground. But while I was separate from the Students for Ron Paul and Yale, I loved what they were doing and, of course, was inspired by Dr. Paul myself. And what I loved about the event was, in addition to the throwback to seeing the Ron Paul Revolution, blimps and balloons everywhere, and getting to hear Dr. Paul himself speak, was just how much it highlighted to me that what happened in the Ron Paul Revolution and his campaigns wasn't just about his run for the presidency. It was about the ideas that he spread and the inspiration it provided to so many people to carry on these ideas in other ways. And again, whether someone was inspired by and brought into the movement by Dr. Paul, or he was just an incredible spokesperson for these ideas, and whether you agree with everything he says or you don't, none of us agree with everyone 100% of the time. I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. What's amazing is to see how much he was able to inspire people. One of the keynotes was the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who spoke about how Dr. Paul didn't just talk about economics. He wasn't just a politician. The reason he was so meaningful to so many people and his legacy carries on is that he inspired people with a message of hope and resonated with what a lot of people intuitively believed in supporting liberty and capitalism. sound economics. And Dr. Paul even talked about that himself when he said he's always surprised by how many people talk about how he cured their apathy, because he was just talking about economics, about sound money, about things that are very basic to him. But there were so many people in the room, over 1,000 people, including incredible business leaders who not only supported the campaign, say Stephen Ascui, who had a lot of experience in internet marketing and applied that to analyzing both professional ads for Dr. Paul, but also videos that his supporters made to figure out which ones would move the needle most and amplify them. But there were so many other business leaders there who I think are carrying on the message from Dr. Paul outside of the world of politics. And this is one of the things that I keep emphasizing in Liberty Ventures, and one of the reasons the Liberty Ventures Network exists. Because if you want to advance capitalism and liberty, you don't just need to go into politics or academia to do so. There's so many other ways to advance liberty. And one of the best ways, actually, is to be a capitalist, to be one of the practitioners of this system and create alternative mechanisms for people to be freer and more prosperous and show the power of business as a force for good. And there were a lot of other business leaders there doing this already. For example, a number of people are in business in the realm of storytelling, carrying on Dr. Paul's legacy. Jeff Harmon from Angel Studios is a great example. He actually worked with Stephen Ascui back in the Ron Paul campaign days. And now what Angel Studios is doing in developing content that is both virtuous, but also committed to the principles of liberty, like the movie The Sound of Freedom or the Tuttle Twins that they get out to more people, are doing an incredible job creating great content, creating a business that is spreading these principles to other people. And speaking of the Tuttle Twins, Connor Boyack, the creator of the Tuttle Twins, was there. And there isn't really a better children's show or book series that introduces the principles of freedom of capitalism to them. The fact that President Javier Milei in Argentina is showing Tuttle Twins on their public broadcasting stations is an example of just how we can buy into this and where these ideas can go when you develop something that people want to consume. But it's not just the storytelling side. There are, of course, a lot of people from the crypto world there. And when thinking about what sound money is, whether you think crypto is a currency or not, I tend not to think that it is. I see it as an investable asset. Of course, there are different types of crypto, and so different roles for it. It's certainly the case that a lot of people who started to look into what sound money really means got into crypto. People like Brock Pierce from the Bitcoin Foundation, who was there, or Patrick Byrne, the founder of Overstock.com, which was one of the first big businesses to accept Bitcoin as a payment. They're carrying this idea on, that we're able to find ways to incorporate a belief in liberty into business practices, into the kind of business that you actually run. But of course, there are lots of other entrepreneurs, small businesses, and other supporters of Dr. Paul's there who are running their own businesses. It was great to see my old friend Norman Horn, who was in Students for Liberty back in the day, started the Libertarian Christian Institute, and now is actually building up a new business himself that the content of it is unrelated to liberty. He's a brilliant engineer. He's developing technology to use UV light to protect crops from insects and pests without having to use pesticides in it. Love this concept. Love that he's gone through the Principal Business Accelerator and that we're finding ways to support him. But there's so many others who are there doing the same thing. And what Norm and every other business person who is at this birthday party is doing is thinking about how they can take capitalism, which we all believe in as this force for good, and actually leverage it for that, to find ways to make people's lives better off through private agreements, the private system. And that's what we need more of. I want everyone who was inspired by the Ron Paul movement, who is inspired by the legacy that's carrying on today, to not only think about politics, academia, think tanks, and others as a way to advance liberty, but business itself being an incredible way to do it. To find a problem that people are facing and go out and solve that problem. That's the heroic nature of entrepreneurship. That's the opportunity in order for us to not just talk about capitalism, but to actually bring it to life to advance humanity forward. It was just a great event. Again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone who was there. It was great to see so many members of the Liberty Ventures Network who were in attendance and to meet some new people that were getting involved. And for anyone who was inspired by Dr. Ron Paul before or is a part of any of the groups that are still carrying that on, really consider going into business. Consider being a capitalist in order to advance capitalism and liberty, and see that as a way to really advance your principles going forward. Like I said, I'm testing out this new format. If you've got some feedback, please reach out and let us know. Next week, I'll be doing a podcast from here at my farm in Pennsylvania with our first Liberty Ventures Founders Camp coming up, where we're bringing 10 startups out to my farm to work on their businesses, get ready to work with other members of the network, and scale some incredible things that they're doing, which we're going to share more of later on. But thank you so much to everyone listening. Thank you for the work that you're doing to leverage capitalism as a force for good and to be the best representative of and advocate for capitalism that you can be. Until next time.